In this video, I'm going to be winding my spindle on my string trimmer. I'm making this video because a lot of people have done this themselves and the line doesn't come out when they hit the bump knob on the ground. So there's a critical step when you're reassembling your spindle, and I'll show you that in this video. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is remove that bump knob and pull out your spindle or spool. This is what we are going to be rewinding with filament or line. So that spring may be in pretty good, but I like to pull mine out because if it falls out and you lose it, then you gotta get new parts. So I'm gonna put that in my pocket, and then I'm just going to put the bump knob back on the string trimmer while we're working on this spool. So now you're going to want to look on the spool, and right now I'm looking on the wrong side, but what you're looking for is the thickness of the filament or line. I'm actually looking for 80 thousandths or 2 millimeter, okay, and those should be stamped on the line, and they'll also be next to some grooves. And after you rewind your spindle, you're going to lock your line into that little groove while you're putting it back onto the shaft. So there are my two 80 thousandths grooves, and so now I'm ready to get my line. Now I'm going to be using 80 thousandths line, or whatever your string trimmer calls for is what you should get. But this particular filament, it comes on a spool. I'm using a product I bought off the internet, and I'll put some links in the description to the line I've got, or where you can get some line. Now my arm span is about 5 feet, maybe a little more. So what I like to do is pull out 2 full arms lengths worth of line. So that should be right around 10 feet. That's a healthy amount to rewind the spindle, but it's not so much that you're really jamming the thing back in there. Again, the goal is when you bump that knob on the ground, you want a little more line to come out, because while you are using your string trimmer, you are actually losing line when you hit things like rocks and asphalt and cement and things like that. So once you've got your 2 full arms lengths of line out, again, which is right around 10 feet, I've got a wire cutter, or a scissors will work too. You just want to cut your filament, and then you can put that back in the garage for now. So now you're going to fold your 10-foot length of filament in half so that you've got the 2 ends in your hand, and you're going to slide those into 2 grooves that are on the inside of that spindle, and that's kind of going to lock them in. Now this is critical. You want to then bend them against the way those grooves are indented so that the grooves hold your line in. Now you're just going to slowly, and I like to use one of my fingers to keep the 2 lines separate. You're just going to slowly rewind that spindle, and take your time when you do this. You don't want the lines to jump over and get into the wrong grooves. You want those 2 lines to stay separate and very nicely lay down on top of one another while you're rewinding this thing. And again, take your time. This is critical that you do this smoothly, and that those lines and filament are laying in well. Otherwise, you're just going to have problems when you're using your string trimmer and you're trying to ask for more line to come out of that spindle. All right. So now, as you're getting close to the end, or where that loop is going to be where you bent that line in half, you want to start to eyeball where are those 2 grooves. In my case, I'm looking for the 2 grooves that will hold the 80 thousandths line. They will be on opposite sides of one another, whatever they are, because you're only holding them in these grooves temporarily until you get it in the string trimmer. And I think this is an area where a lot of people make a big mistake. Is they get this far, they've done a pretty good job winding their spool, but then they leave the trim line jammed in those grooves, and they put it back on their string trimmer, and as they're cutting, they can't figure out why they can't get more line out. All right, so now that you've got you're to the end, now you can clip it right in the middle. All right, now you have a perfectly threaded string trimmer spindle. All right, so now don't forget, let's put that spring back in, and now we are ready to mount this spindle on the shaft. So this is the critical part where you don't want to make the mistake and do this wrong and have a hard time getting your line to come out. So we are, with the line still in those grooves, we are going to carefully thread the line through those holes on the housing on the opposite sides. Now we're going to very carefully move that spindle up onto the shaft and keep those grooves right in line with the holes where the line is coming out of the housing. And as you push the spindle in, you're going to want to tug on that line a little bit, and you want to pop it out of that groove. Now, you want to do this nice and smoothly because you don't want the line to get any slack in it and then cross over that fin that kind of divides the two sides. So you're going to want to push this in, get it lined up very gently, push it in there, and then it'll, as it snaps out of that groove, that's perfect. Now you want to put your bump knob on, and I'm going to hold the spindle in with my left hand while I use my right hand to kind of get that bump knob spun on. And you want to get this hand tight. That's really all you need, because the way this spring trimmer rotates, it's not going to loosen. But I like to make sure it's nice and snug and get my lines are nice. And that's it. Let's test it. Thanks for watching. Check out the description for more information and hit that subscribe button if you'd like to see more videos.